Excellent. So I have with me Rina, and Rina is a mum with two busy boys, and she has taken up a new job as an executive consultant for a skincare company, a big American skincare company. And Rina and I met nearly 10 years ago over in Japan when my husband was working with Rina. So Rina, welcome, and would you
Thank
like
you.
to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to drop in tonight and chat to you all. So like Narelle said, we met in Japan maybe 10 years ago. I was working with your husband, Sean, and that was the life, wasn't it? Before kids.
Yeah, the fun times.
It was a really fun time. So my previous life, before kids' life, I was a IT project manager. So I've worked for a number of financial sort of institutions and insurance companies. I've done the whole corporate life thing, and then kids came along, and that's when things got a bit interesting. So I've got two very busy boys, Patrick, who's 5, and Jimmy, who's 3, and yeah, they're pretty wild.
They keep you busy, don't they?
Yes, you got your own Jimmy, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the name too.
I think so too. So they get up to a lot of mischief and absolutely tear my place apart.
Yeah.
But it's lots of fun, and definitely a different life to how we used to live.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll keep it to the end. I'll go on about your job and what you're doing. So what would be one struggle that you've had as a mum?
So I guess I'm not sure if I can limit it to one. We'll try and limit it to one. But I guess for me, after having my first son, which was, a total shock to the system, I always thought, I'm that person who's, made to have kids. I just couldn't wait. Like, that was my destiny. And I think it came as a real shock when I actually did have my son, Patrick. Of course, it was amazing, and he's the best. They're both the best thing that's ever happened to me. But life takes a bit of a turn, and neither of my boys slept. So it was very, sleep deprived, exhausted, crazy sort of life. So my world was turned upside down. And here I was thinking I would be that person that didn't let kids, interrupt my career or my travel plans, or, if I went out to dinner, I'll just pop them under the table type of person. That's how I thought it would be. But no, I had the screaming hypo kids that totally ruled my life. So I think just the whole experience was a bit of a shock to the system. And so I guess the biggest struggle that I had was just trying to balance it all, trying to go back to my corporate career and try and find the balance between, working part-time, but my job as a project manager doesn't really lend itself to being a part-time type of job. It's quite a demanding role that, a lot of the work would happen out of hours and late into the night, and you were expected to be on call and available at short notice. And they're all the things that just don't really gel well with being a mum.
No, definitely not. So would you say, how long was it before you went back to work between Patrick having Patrick?
Look, I think I had same time as your husband as well. Our previous organisation made the whole company redundant. So while I was on leave, I was made redundant, which was a challenge in itself for someone to find a new employer and hopefully find something part-time. So it took me a little while to go back. I think it was about a year after he was on, but I did find a part-time role, and I continued that up until my second son was born. And then that's when things got really interesting. So my second son, Jimmy, was born with some birth complications. So he was born with a cleft lip and palate. So we had a whole lot of, well, apart from the initial shock of finding out that your baby has something wrong, we had a whole lot of extra medical appointments and specialist appointments and surgeries, and, you know, a whole different world of complications opened up after that one. So
yeah, that's such a must have been a really challenging time. Did you know before you actually gave birth? Like, did they inform you?
Yeah, they did. So, you know, the day we went in for our 20-week scan, and we were excited to find out if it was going to be a boy or a girl. And then they said it was another boy. And I looked at my husband and went, oh, great, how wonderful. But of course, you know, you're happy just to see your baby there. And then just that dreaded silence when the person doing the scan just goes quiet for like what seemed like eternity. And you know, I just recall sitting there saying to my husband, like, why isn't she talking? What's going on? And then you're ushered off to that quiet room where they have to break the news that my son had a bilateral cleft lip that they could see. So that's when the baby's face doesn't join properly in the womb. So he had 2 large holes here, and his palate, while it was intact, we didn't know until after he was born, all the muscles inside his mouth weren't joined properly. So while he was able to feed, well, I was lucky he was able to breastfeed. Most babies can't. There was a lot of other complications. So because the muscles weren't there, he had a lot of milk that would come out of his nose and reflux. And, you know, basically for the first year of his life, he couldn't lie flat after feeding. He was constantly choking, and it was all very stressful and hectic and exhausting, really. And likewise, again, I always thought I'd go back to work, which I did. I got another good job part-time, but it was just a whole nother level of confidence after you've got a baby that needs multiple surgeries and other complications with hearing and things going on, speech pathology, things like that. It just makes corporate life very challenging if you have to constantly ask for a day off, and you know, the constant juggle, not to mention the other toddler on the go as well.
Yeah, he would have been, two years old at that time. So, very busy time.
Busy,
but thanks so much for sharing that too. Thanks for sharing such an intimate detail about your life and that struggle and stress that you've been through. So what would you say then, like, perfect question, what helped you has helped you and still does keep you positive then?
Look, I have to say it was it was a very big eye-opening experience when you've got, look, he wasn't a sick baby, it was a physical issue, but when you start spending time at like the Royal Children's Hospital having surgery, and you're in and amongst other families with sick kids, like seriously sick kids, that puts things in perspective. And you do become very positive and very grateful for the hand that you're dealt. And I think if anyone's having a bad day, just go hang out at the Royal Children's for a little while and get yourself a little bit of perspective, because there's a lot of people struggling. And the worst thing is when you're struggling with your kids' health. I can't think of anything more stressful. So for me, just that perspective really keeps me positive. And then after a while, and we'll get into what I'm doing now, but after a while, being able to move into a career that is more flexible around your family and actually get a little bit more balance back in your life. I'm very grateful and for, you know, that sort of situation, to be able to be there a bit more for my kids when they need us, and to be there for all the appointments and things that we have going on. And I think especially in the business that I'm in, I've been able to do a lot of self-development on positive mindset, and you know, just they talk about flicking a switch, and you've just, you know, when you're having a bad day, there's literally like a little switch, and I do that quite often. I flick it and I'm like, no, this is not bad. This is really minor in the scheme of things, and we're alive, we're healthy, and you know, there's a wonderful world outside, and I try and get my family to go out, and we still love traveling and seeing new places and things like that, and so those sorts of things keep me positive.
Beautiful. That's like, through the outside, and also, the mindset thing, that would definitely help with the new job. And perspective, couldn't actually, I do remember when Tosha was a baby and she had her hips, she was in a brace for the first year of her life, or maybe even, year and a bit. And same, it was like, this is just a minor, really, it's a physical thing, but what you'd see at Royal Children's, every appointment you went, it felt grateful for what you have and the hand you were dealt. So then what about for yourself? What's 2 non-negotiables that you have now in your life since having the boys?
Look, to be honest, there's still not a lot of time for myself, but my new business is something that has given me a little outlet and something owning for myself. You know, the more effort I put into that, the more I'm getting out of it. So once the kids go to bed, to be able to do something on my own terms, in my own time, that's quite empowering for me. And meeting a lot of other positive people, and, you know, making connections with people that I'd sort of lost touch with, and having time to have more coffee catch-ups, and just, I think, interact with other positive people. That's really, it's been a huge, like, ray of sunshine in my world, honestly, because when you're in the, you know, the toddler days and you're trying to juggle, and you've got dishes and dinner and schedules and trying to get to work and back in time for pickup, and my husband works a very busy career as well, and he travels a lot, so a lot of that was on my plate. Just to be able to get a bit more balance back and surround myself with positive people has been really awesome recently.
Yeah, that's great. I know exactly. I do completely understand in that point of view. Just starting my own business and last year just being around the people in the mastermind would definitely have been that huge non-negotiable and positive. When you do something that you're passionate about, isn't it amazing how it makes you just lifts yourself up, isn't it?
Oh, totally. And you actually want to get up in the morning and do something, you know.
And at night.
Right. Or in the night, into the night.
Yeah.
You're not dragging yourself out of bed. It's really, it's like my happy place. It really is.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. So then tell us about the business and what you're doing.
So
and you got into it as well.
Yeah, well, some people may have heard of Rodan and Fields, but some people might not have. But basically, I was traveling to the States a couple of years ago for a wedding, and I just, my son was in the wedding party as a page boy, and this lovely lady, Liz, her daughter was the flower girl. So we got chatting, became friends on Facebook, and I saw the business that she was in, and it was a home-based business. And I think as you start talking to a lot more mums, you realise there's a lot of mums out there doing home businesses. And I think it's because we're all trying to find that balance and find something, a little bit of something for yourself, but in and around your family life that works. So I've been actually surprised since getting into it, how many people are in this sort of industry. So it's in the direct sales industry, so similar to Tupperware or, Mary Kay, that sort of thing. But I think what attracted me to Rodan and Fields was it's a completely virtual business that we run online from home. No parties, no stocking inventory, things like that. And yeah, it's a skincare business. It's a premium skincare line. It's now the #1 line in America, which is amazing. We took that title last year. and it's just launched in Australia. So this friend that I made well, maybe I was her only person she knew in Australia. So she reached out to me, and we stayed in touch for, the last 2 years in the lead up to it arriving. And I did a lot of research, and it was something I started using the products first of all, and they totally transformed my skin. I think since having kids, you get very tired, dehydrated, exhausted, breakout, bad skin. Yes. So it was a product that I was using, and I became very passionate that it did work and do what it said that it would do. So I just looked into the opportunity, and something, I don't know, it was like that little feeling in my stomach. Something was saying, this could be your ticket to freedom. This could be it. This could be the way I can actually do something really interesting. You get to run your own business from home around the family. And so there was, I have no experience in sales or the skincare industry at all, but through the business, I've been able to retrain myself and build a nice little team of other mums that are doing the same. And yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. It's been a real eye-opener and the best thing I've ever done. So yeah, really enjoying it.
That's fantastic. And so how many hours would you say that you do per week on the business?
Look, some weeks can be very minimal, but other weeks, I sort of work in bursts. So most nights I'll probably log on and do half an hour. If I've got a day free without the kids, I will spend a few hours doing a bit more work. I listen to my trainings while I'm driving, so I can do a lot of, multitasking and things like that. And being a virtual business, everything's done through Facebook Live. All my colleagues are in America or Canada or around the place. So we work within different time zones and things. So, basically just fitting it into wherever I can, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that's what you wanted, wasn't it? That whole balance and to be able to do it. Well, thank you so much for sharing those things tonight with us. And and I look forward to catching up again soon.
Yes, we must do. Thanks.
Thanks, Serena.
I'll chat to you soon.